craziness after craziness has happened with the NBA, all-season moves all over the place, okay? The night I spoke with you guys, Jaren Jackson signed a big deal to re-up with the Grizzlies. That's kind of interesting. I've talked about Ja Morant and the future of that franchise and what they might do. We don't know where they're going to go yet, so we're going to keep an open mind with that. But since then, the Milwaukee Bucks released Damian Lillard and signed Miles Turner. The New York Knicks hired Mike Brown as head coach. The Los Angeles Lakers signed DeAndre Ayton. And the Houston Rockets traded for Dorian Finney-Smith. The NBA has made all-season move after all-season move. The NBA has seen teams make all-season move after all-season move. It has been a wild ride. The real question is, and this is an honest one, what's the biggest off-season move that's been made by the NBA to this point? Of those. Now, the biggest one of all is Kevin Durant going to the Rockets. That towers over everything. And as much as I'm not a fan of Kevin Durant as a person, as much as mentally weak as I think Kevin Durant is, I do think Houston's a good place for him to go. I think they have a good setup for him. And I think things are only getting better to this point because of who they've added. And we're going to talk about Dorian Finney-Smith because that's a really good addition for them. And I think that they have a lot to be excited about. But beyond that, what about the other transactions that have been happening? Which ones are the best? Which ones are questionable? Which ones are up in the air? There are a lot of ways to think about this. We're going to talk about it right now. And we're going to start with the worst of all the transactions. And the worst of all the transactions is the Bucks releasing Damian Lillard, and signing Miles Turner. Now, I am not all obsessed with Damian Lillard the way a lot of people are. He has injury issues. He has had some issues in the past with being consistent, particularly in the postseason. I understand why you might want to release him. But Miles Turner, okay, guys, I'm sorry. Signing Miles Turner to the deal they signed him to, I think it was 4 years, $52 million. You guys can correct me on that. This is the classic case of overreacting to a playoff run by a team. 4 year, $107 million. Why did I say 4 year, $52 million? No, excuse me. 4 year, $107 million deal. This is the classic case of overreacting based on what a player did on a team that had a lot of postseason success. Let's think about this for a minute. Miles Turner will be 30 before next year's playoffs, okay? Miles Turner averaged 15.6 points, 2 blocks per game, 6.5 rebounds. But that's not special. That's not, let's be honest, that's not $26 million per year worthy, okay? And this is what happens. This always happens in basketball when a solid player is part of a team that makes a deep run, and we always undervalue how replaceable that player is. Miles Turner's replaceable. Now, he is a good three-point shooter. I'll give him that. He had his best three-point shooting career he had the best three-point shooting season of his career last year, hit 2.2 threes a game, shot 396 from three. That was incredible for him to do. And I think Milwaukee's overreacting to that. I think that's a fluke. I don't think that's a consistent thing, if I'm going to be honest. I don't think he's going to continue to do it. This is on a larger scale who remembers this? When New Orleans gave James Posey a huge contract. For those who don't remember, James Posey was a reserve on the Celtics when they won the title in 2008 with Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce. New Orleans that year lost to the Spurs in 7 games when they had Chris Paul, and Chris Paul was the runner for the MVP, and New Orleans looked like they were building for the future. They went and gave James Posey a huge contract, and it turned out to not work out. Not because James Posey's not great. Look, I'm a Grizzly fan. I'm going to tell you guys this. The first beloved player in Memphis was James Posey. It was not Pau Gasol. Pau Gasol was there the first 2 years. They traded for James Posey, and they made the playoffs. The first year they made the playoffs was 2003, 2004. James Posey was the fan favorite of that team as the starting wing. We all loved his game. I loved his game when I watched him with the Celtics when they won a title. He was not worth the money that the Pelicans paid him. I see the same with Miles Turner now in Milwaukee on a larger scale because Miles Turner is a starter. He's a better player than James Posey overall. But I see the same thing in the sense that they paid him to be a franchise caliber player that he is not. This is not going to work out. So honestly, if I'm being straight up with you guys, I think that is the worst of all the moves that have been done by the NBA this week. But the second worst and not far behind is the Lakers signing DeAndre Ayton. Now, guys, Phoenix let DeAndre Ayton go for a reason. And I know I sound like I'm just hating on some sinners right now, okay? But DeAndre Ayton did average, like, he had his worst year this past year, averaging 14.4 points. He did still keep a double-double going, average 10.2 rebounds. But DeAndre Ayton is 26. He is a he is becoming more of a liability from the free throw line. He was 66.7% from the free throw line this past year. And he only played 40 games. The year before, he only played 55. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the reason the Lakers didn't win more titles when LeBron had Anthony Davis was because Anthony Davis couldn't stay healthy. What makes you think DeAndre Ayton would? Okay, this is dumb decision making by the Lakers. I don't understand what they're doing. And truth be told, I think they've gotten fleeced twice. Everybody got mad at Dallas for trading Luka to the Lakers. It looks like Dallas is winning on multiple fronts, not just because they got Cooper Flag, but also because while you can call Anthony Davis injury prone, the Lakers just signed somebody who can't stay on the court. Okay. So with that in mind, I got to be honest, that's the second worst. You can make a strong argument that's the worst. I mean, how do you go for this guy who, again, can't stay healthy? He has had lots and lots of issues throughout his career, and I don't know what the Lakers are thinking. I mean, look, he agreed to a buyout with the Blazers this past year, and so I just I don't know I don't know what's going on with that. Remember, Ayton suffered a left calf strain during back in February, and that sounded it for the season. I got it. I'm sorry. I know I don't have. I know I seem like a loss for words, but I don't get where the Lakers are coming from. They just feel like they just unloaded Anthony Davis because they felt like they got burned. Now, this is them building for the future. To the Lakers' credit, beyond LeBron, they are thinking of life beyond LeBron at this point. But thinking of life beyond LeBron shouldn't involve a guy who has played a total of 95 games in the last 2 years with Portland. I mean, this is just this is the same old Lakers that have been in existence since the death of Jerry Buss. They got lucky with one title that LeBron delivered them, but they have made personnel mistake after personnel mistake, and this is another one of those. Now, the Rockets trading for Dorian Finney-Smith. I want to get to that. But before I get to that, I have to point out that the Knicks, quite honestly, signing Mike Brown as the new head coach, not a bad move. Which one of those is the biggest? I'm going to go back to Dorian Finney-Smith. Okay, Dorian Finney-Smith going to Houston is actually the second best move that has happened this week for any team. The second smartest move that has taken place. Now, Dorian Finney-Smith played for two teams this past year. He played for Brooklyn and he played for LA. When he was at Brooklyn, he was averaging 10 points per game, 4.5 rebounds. Most notably, though, 43.5% from three. He's 36.2% from three for his career. Stands at 6'7", 220. A great kind of tweener, power forward, small forward type. I think he could complement Kevin Durant very well on that front, if we're being honest. Typically, I don't love 6'7" power forwards, but when you can have a 6'11" wing, it'll work. And he is also a solid passer, 1.5 assists per game, only 0.9 turnovers. He could get better at that, but this gives Houston more three-point shooting options. I think Dorian Finney-Smith to Houston is arguably the second best move of the all season, only to of the offseason outside of Kevin Durant, obviously, but only to what I'm about to name now. And the biggest one is Mike Brown to the Knicks. The Knicks have hired Mike Brown as head coach to replace Tom Thibodeau. I want to be honest with you guys. I love this move. I love this move. Now, Mike Brown has been in a lot of different situations. Most notably, he was with the Cavs twice, got fired twice by them, got fired by the Lakers 1 year, and then has been with the Kings the last 3 years. But what people don't realize about Mike Brown is, again, coaching is overrated if you're looking to win a title on the backs of coaches. Only one has done it the last 30 years, and that's Rick Carlisle. Okay. Where coaching really comes into play is how you can get guys to play together and maximize what they can do. And let's point this out with Mike Brown. Mike Brown, we keep forgetting this, employs tactics from Greg Popovich and Rick Carlisle to have its success. And what we're not considering is this. When Mike Brown, back in his days in Cleveland, had back-to-back the best record in the NBA, the back-to-back years, back-to-back years, he had the best record in the NBA. And everybody gave LeBron credit. They talked about how great that must mean that LeBron was because he had no help. What if it's how great Mike Brown was? If LeBron had no help and there's no other talent on the team, well, then Mike Brown did a pretty darn good job leading a team to the best record in the NBA with only one elite player, which he did. And he didn't have a championship caliber team. Then 2011, 2012 came. He went to the Lakers. Again, not a championship caliber team. Went back to the Cavs 2013, 2014. Horrible team. And then was with Golden State and had a huge role in them winning titles. Okay, I don't know why people think that this is a bad hire. I think this is a great hire. I think Mike Brown to the Knicks is a really good hire. Mike Brown is a defensive guy. He employs a lot of the defensive schemes that people like from Thibodeau, by the way. The only difference is Mike Brown knows how to go deep into his rotation using guys, unlike Thibodeau. So I think Mike Brown to the Knicks is the best offseason move anybody has made to this point, and I am a huge fan of it. Again, outside of Kevin Durant to the Rockets.